Hey everyone, I'm Scott Stokely, and I'm here with Ben Calhoun, the owner of the Throw Shop at the Lake Shore Disc Golf Course in Ypsilanti, Michigan. Ben is part of the famous Calhoun family. If you've been disc golfing in Southeast Michigan for any amount of time, you know Ben, his wife Flea, the owners of the Throw Shop. You also know his dad, Terry, and maybe even Sheila as well. This is a family that is a very important family in my life. I've had so many consecutive kick ass years. I'm pretty sure they're going to keep going. But at moments in my life, I have fallen. And at various points in my life, there have been people as I started to fall that jumped in and caught me. And your family is some of those people. You will always be extremely important to me. But this is not about me. It's not even about your pro shop, which I'm going to show you. I'll give you guys a quick tour at some point during this video. But this is about something Ben did that, in hindsight, is utterly mind blowing. A little bit. No, it is. Ben, along with Gregg Hosfeld, and Gregg said I could talk to him about this as well, but these guys were the first two people individually to play 1,000 disc golf courses. They did this. Well, first off, at the time, there were certainly less than 2,000 in the whole country by the time you finished, right?
Probably about, yeah.
Give or take. Well, when you started, there was probably like 1,200 because the sport was so new. But there also wasn't this thing called, well, it's not that there wasn't the internet, but what year was it?
2008.
2008. Okay. There wasn't an ease of use.
No.
No Google Maps, right?
MapQuest printed out at a printer.
Okay. So basically, you have the course directory, you go to your hotel room, you print out the maps, you on a piece of paper, you follow the maps, you look at street signs. You had a journey. So we're going to talk about this journey because it's pretty amazing. So back to the beginning. You started playing
In 1998,
and you were officially hooked on disc golf.
before I finished my first throw, probably.
Okay. Wow. So on the tee pad during your backswing,
Yes.
you
I
were.
made my family get into it. So I'm the one that I threw first,
Wait.
and I was like, yeah. I was like, you have to play because I want to play.
Wait,
so
you got
all
your
have
dad
to
into
play.
it?
I got my dad into it.
I always assumed the other way
No.
around just because he's older and.
I was like, oh, you all have to play now. So.
Okay, so that's cool. I would learn something every day. And so you got your family into it and you played, and plenty of good courses in Michigan, right?
Yeah, even back then we had Hudson Mills, which most people have heard about. So
Yeah, 98. Kensington was almost in the ground.
Kensington had the original tunnel course back then, and it was really nice.
And then, of course, you had
That was
all
my
the.
favorite back then, actually.
Was it? Okay. And you had the courses, all the courses in Detroit, right? Addison, Riverbends,
Riverbends and Stony Creek. Yeah. Firefighters.
Firefighters, of course. The World Championships were actually here in 1992. Not because there were four great courses, but because it was a city that had four courses.
Yeah.
So
one of the only ones.
Yeah, one of the only ones that could even run the World Championships. So you love disc golf. You played all the courses in Detroit, or were you playing a bunch of courses around Michigan?
Back
Like,
then, it was mostly Hudson Mills, Brown Park, Kensington.
when did you decide you were going to play? Well, did you actually set out to play 1,000 courses?
I actually did not set out to be the first to play 1,000 courses or know that I would be. I set out to just play as many as I could, and then only later on in the trip found out that Gregg Hosfeld was always trying to be the first to play 1,000 courses. So.
Yeah, and we're going to talk to Gregg as well. Gregg has a hell of a story because Gregg had played 300 courses when there was like 330 in the country. Totally different story than yours. Unique, but they converge. But we will get to that. So you had played the courses in Michigan. What year was it that you decided you were going to try to play a bunch of courses?
Well, actually, in 2005, I drove around and I played, I think, every except for a couple that I couldn't get access to course that was listed in the printed directory in Michigan in 1 year.
Like the actual
that I
course,
hadn't already played.
the actual course directory.
So I went through the course directory and even through the Upper Peninsula and played every course in Michigan that was listed that I hadn't yet played. And then in 2006, I decided to go on a bigger journey and actually traveled to California and back and played about 200 courses in 1 year.
Okay, well, before we do that, not everyone knows what the course directory was. What was the course
I
directory?
could probably find mine in about 2 minutes or less. It's in the back room in a box.
You go find it. I will tell everybody what the course directory is. You can show
I
them.
might have taken it home.
Okay, so before the internet, I mean, or maybe the internet was around, but before this was a thing, we had every disc golfer, or even before then, every frisbee golfer had the PDGA course directory. The course directory was a book, a printed book, and by printed I mean you run off a bunch of copies at Kinko's and you put a binder on it. Book that listed every course in the world, mostly U.S., but it was every course. Nope.
I might have taken it home this winter.
But it listed every course that somebody took the time to submit.
Yes, and they weren't all in there.
No, they weren't all in there. They weren't, and all the information. There was no vetting process on the information. All the information was what the person submitted, and
I've got a funny short story about one of them.
please share.
I don't remember the exact details, but there was one where the directions were something like turn right at where the old schoolhouse used to be.
Right.
Or something like that.
Yes.
And I'm like, okay, cool, because I'm from small town Kansas and I know where the old schoolhouse used to be.
Well, yeah. Or there was another one. I was in Fort Wayne, Indiana, I think it was, that said turn left at the Arby's. And when we got to Fort Wayne,
There's no
Indiana,
more Arby's.
Arby's was gone. My favorites. And by the way, this was actually common. The book would say, head down this road and then turn right at a certain street. But it didn't specify which direction you were approaching the road to begin with.
Or how many miles.
Yes. So yeah. So you just basically, but it was a coin flip. And by the way, over the years, if you tried, at least back then, asking a random person where the frisbee golf course was,
They have no idea what you're talking about.
they thought you were making stuff up.
Yeah.
So you traveled. Originally, you had the course directory.
Yeah.
By the way, course directory better than Moby Dick, Don Quixote, or Mao's Little Red Book combined.
Oh, you can read the whole thing without ever traveling, just for fun.
Yeah, for fun. But also, there's not a single player that didn't own a copy.
Yeah.
It was literally our Bible.
There was no online directory.
Yeah. So you used the course directory to get around Michigan.
Yeah, even to get around Michigan.
How did you plot that out? Because the course directory didn't have a map with a page with like Michigan dots, what page the course is on. It was just a listing of courses, probably alphabetical.
Yeah,
by state, I think.
I think some of the states or some of the years they kind of had dots with the names of the cities.
Oh, they did start
But
doing that.
it was more like you just kind of had to figure out where they all were and make plans.
Like
kind of write it out ahead of time.
Like an atlas or something, and you put
Pick a
pins
direction and try to be like, this makes more sense to go here for a while, and then I have to go over here and then back up here next.
Oh my God, you're almost my age. This is the moment.
Sometimes an hour or two planning the day before.
Yes, we could rant so much on how easy kids have it these days, and we could be those guys.
If I had U-Disc, would have saved a lot of gas.
U-Disc and Google. The idea of playing all the courses in a state with the course directory was really, really tricky. By the way, go type in the traveling salesman paradox on YouTube, and there's videos about exactly why this is difficult. But you played the courses in Michigan, you headed to California. All right. Was it an uneventful trip?
The first one? No, both trips were actually pretty smooth, enjoyable. Nothing crazy happened.
Remember I told you to make stuff up about biker gangs and breaking down and...
No biker gangs. I did have, on the longer trip, my brakes went out when I was in Las Vegas, and I had to sit there for 5 days waiting for new brakes to come in and get put on.
And they went out when you were going downhill and there were school children crossing the road?
Actually, I did have one instance where I almost ran over a kid while on this road trip, so...
Okay, all right. Now we got a story. Please.
I consider it actually one of the scariest moments of my entire life, and certainly of the whole trip. I think it was on the first trip, but it might have been on the longer one in 2008. There was a backcountry road in the middle of nowhere, typical setting, probably going 55 on a paved 55 road, and there's a lawn on the left, and then suddenly a ball comes bouncing down into the street, and I slammed on the brakes as hard as I could, thinking it's probably just not the ball by itself, and I was right, and then a kid came running out in the street without looking, and I missed him by 20 feet, so as he ran out to the street. was very
Okay,
scary.
so by the way, I'm smiling because I assumed it had a happy ending. I would
I
have
did
felt
not
terrible.
hurt anybody, thank
It would
God.
have felt awful if I was smiling the whole
I was
time and it
shaking
ended with,
for an hour afterwards.
no, I know, I believe it. Now, how did you fund this trip to California? Trust fund,
I
lottery?
just delivered pizza, honestly, and saved up good money for a while.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm young. I'm not gonna be able to do this later. And I'm right, because now I can't do something like this. So I just did it while I could instead of saving up like a smart person for retirement.
No, retirement. The world's not even going to be
I
here
might
in
not, yeah, I
20
might
years.
not be
Come
there.
on.
So why not do what
What are you
everybody else
thinking?
wants to work their whole life to do? I'm just gonna do it.
No. And by the way, life lesson, do things when you're younger. Once you have the mortgage and the business and the kids,
If you can, you should do things when you're younger. Yeah, I agree.
you have to.
You should.
And you did it while delivering pizzas. I toured for years before I was making any money delivering pizzas. I made just enough more in the winter to go out and spend the money on bread and bologna in the summer. But that's food. So you went out to California. You said at that point you were at 200 courses.
I think I played about 200 in that year. I was probably at about 300 total at that time, maybe. After that 2006 trip. And then in 2007, I did a shorter trip. I just drove up to play the 2007 Pro Worlds in Wisconsin at High Bridge Hills. And I just played like every course I could on that trip and probably had about 35 courses in a couple weeks.
Okay. Hey, we're going to stop for a quick commercial break because I want to show everybody your pro shop and I'm going to pretend it's a fancy commercial. First off, Throw Shop is in Ypsilanti, Michigan, and it's at the Lakeshore Disc Golf Course, and people can order online too.
We sell online, throwshop.us.
Okay, throwshop.us. .us. Don't forget, like you can buy online. You know how like a lot of people say when you go to restaurants, well, Applebee's is just that's not a restaurant. It's a corporation, and then the place next door is that mom and pop restaurant. Even online, there are large companies selling online, but when you go to a website, you are supporting the mom and pop company,
Yeah.
and you are
And
mom and pop now.
we ship fast. I literally made Stokely wait so I could finish up the last customer's order and make sure it got out.
Yeah, rude. Does he not know who I am? Hey, let me give you guys a quick tour of the shop, though, because it's super impressive. How long has the shop been open?
Almost 15 years.
Almost 15 years. So this is a very early pro shop in the sport. Look at this. I mean, just as any pro shop you would expect, but they have all the discs. They have older. I even saw like a tilt, like a used tilt in a tilt bin. So they even have like specialty discs, clothing, hats. Oh, huge selection. Bags. I mean, they got all the goodies, and you also have an experts at the helm. So go to Throw Shop. Wait, the Throw Shop or Throw Shop?
Throwshop.us.
Throwshop.us. There'll be a link in the description. This is like I couldn't stress this enough. If y'all enjoy playing disc golf, it is in almost all cases that pro shop that you're supporting. The things that they're doing with that money is affording themselves the ability to try to get more courses in the ground. And it's great because you put more courses in the ground. In theory, more disc golfers, you sell more discs, you make more money.
That's my
Yay!
main side hobbies.
Capitalism
Courses.
works. But that's what. So support the pro shops. They're the ones putting the courses in, not the gigantic corporations. They don't care about us. All right. All right. So you're now at 200 or 330-ish courses,
Probably.
and you went to the Worlds. How'd you do, by the way?
I think in 2007 I got 100th place
100th place.
in Pro Worlds.
Top 100.
But
Way
I got a
better.
hole-in-one on the island hole, so
Really?
yeah.
Okay. So that's way better than 101st. Oh,
And I got a
That would
4 on
be-
a 1350 for hole. That was pretty cool.
for real.
It was way downhill, down a mountain, but
Still cool. Still cool. All right. You're at 330 courses. It's 2006, 2008.
2008 was the big road trip. Yes.
2008 you decided to go on the road trip. How much did you have to save? I mean, how much did you leave with
I spent over $17,000, I think.
on the trip?
Yeah.
So that's how much you saved up to do this. What was the plan? Were you trying to hit every state, certain courses, or just
Never really worried about hitting Alaska and Hawaii because it's just not feasible.
it's hard
Even
to drive
then
to
it wasn't.
Hawaii?
But I was trying to make sure I finished up every state I hadn't yet been to, and With that trip, I did achieve that, so I've played in all 48 lower states.
And on that last trip, you did hundreds, and I mean, we did another 600 and something.
I think I played 637 courses on that trip.
How long of a trip was it?
It was from like the very beginning of May until almost Christmas.
I didn't realize it was that long. Okay.
Yeah.
No, like, oh, wow. So, like, that was a year of your life by yourself. What was the favorite course you played? Well, wait, two questions. I'm going to go favorite and what you thought the best course was, because they're not
I
necessarily
do
the
have
same.
a hard time picking favorites. Um,
Pick three, pick seven,
Whistler's Bend in Oregon is really nice for like scenery wise,
of
and
course.
Milo McIver is one of the best courses as well.
Love Milo.
Um, Pickard Park in Des Moines, Iowa is one of my favorites. I had one of my best tournament finish ever there as well.
Yeah, you want a B tier? Oh, no, an A tier.
I think it was a B tier, but
You want a B
I won a
tier?
pro tournament there and playing it
MPO.
blind with like actual good players there.
No,
Don't know how I did that,
by
but
4 strokes, right?
I think I won by 4 strokes.
See, I pay attention. This is what happens when you're
Highbridge
shallow
Hills,
like
where
me.
the 2007 Worlds is, would be my favorite place to go play, and I hear it might be closing, so I'm really worried about that. Hopefully, someone can save the property there.
I wasn't
because
aware of that.
it is definitely one of the. If I could pick one place to go right now, it would be there.
That'd
So,
be. Any other courses of note? Places?
Idlewild's obviously really amazing. I got to play it again. I think
Did you play the tournament course or
3 years ago I
or
was
the
at
short
Idlewild,
layout?
so
You played the tournament?
like the longest layout available at least.
Okay. Because I think they have 27 holes and they combine holes to
Yeah.
make the 18 pro holes.
Didn't get to play that.
Okay.
I don't think so. Those are some of the best ones, of course.
All right. Now, favorite though, let's take the quality of the course out of play. What are some of the favorites? I mean, just the aesthetics, the beauty, the uniqueness.
Some of the more mountain courses, when you come from Michigan, we don't have that around here. So, um,
Yeah, they claim to ski in Michigan. I'm from Colorado.
yeah, there's one
They claim to ski.
in Colorado that I really liked the landscape of. That was, I think it was called Colorado Mountain College Glenwood,
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's pretty old, and it might even still be around. I don't know. It wasn't like maybe the best course, but I liked that kind of landscape and golfing. Another unique one was in the Badlands. Can't remember the name of it. It was probably in Montana, on the edge, on like the very eastern edge of the state, at a state park, Makashaka or something like that. Just really weird having like baskets up on top of mesas. You had to climb up like a wooden staircase to get up to the top.
Was it Diamond X outside of
No,
Billings?
it wasn't Diamond X.
Okay.
I actually heard about that one, and I chose not to go there because I didn't want to die. So it just seemed it was like 10 hours there and 10 hours back out of the way, and it just wasn't really worth adding that to the trip at the time. So I didn't bother.
Okay. Did you make the base camp in Moab? That's another very unique
I
course.
did not know.
What about? I'm trying to think of some other unique places. There's a course in. It's not Arcata. It's up. It's in Northern
I
California.
did play in Arcata.
Okay. You played in the
Yes.
Redwood
I
Curtain.
played the one where you tee off on the stump. It's like the third hole, and you get climb up on top of the stump, and then you tee off on
Yeah.
it.
The
I
Redwood
aced one of the
Curtain.
holes there on later in the
Serious?
round, one of the shorter holes. Yeah.
Really? Yeah. This course it's called the Redwood Curtain. It's right in the Redwood Forest, just outside of Humboldt University.
Yeah.
And there is a redwood stump that is so large that not only is it a tee pad, you have to climb up to get on top of this big stump.
Yeah.
It's so big, it's not only a tee pad, but the other three people in your group stand on the stump while you're teeing off.
Yeah. And then there's like the kind of the freaky part. Some of the rotted out stumps. If you like somehow landed your disc in there and tried to retrieve it, I feel like you could get stuck in there and no one would ever find you.
No, no one would find you. No, people
Don't go in there.
No, like I feel like that's like the Keebler elves live in those
Yeah.
holes. No, there's no the course just north of there though. There's a hole where you throw over the ocean.
Oh wow.
Where when tide's out, you can walk straight from the tee pad to the hole. But when tide is in, you have to actually throw over the ocean because you throw from out on a little pier. You didn't play that one?
I don't think so.
That might have come later. Crescent
Ocean doesn't
City?
come into play much enough on disc golf courses. There's one
No.
in Florida that I know that there was a hole where if you shanked it, you could on Maximo Park. I think people know that one. I think it might not even sure if it exists anymore. South of Clearwater,
I got one you probably.
Tampa Bay.
I got one you probably played. In oh God, what's it called? I'm drawing a blank.
in Florida?
No, it's just north of Wisconsin. I mean, just north of Madison. It's
High stand?
no, it's where Barry Schultz is from. Sheboygan. Thank you, anonymous person off camera. Sheboygan, Wisconsin. One of the holes, if you turn your shot over, you land in Lake Michigan.
Oh.
It's kind of cool because you actually go along the shore
I
of
know
Lake
there was a
Michigan.
hole at like I want to say like Silver Creek State Park or something like that in much more southern Wisconsin where Lake Michigan does come into play. Or at
Okay.
least it did back then.
Yeah, there should always be a major lake in play on every hole. Yeah, you can get your discs back out of Lake Michigan. I don't think either. All right, so you played 600 courses. I mean, during this trip, and
Yeah.
as you started, when did you start to hear that there was someone else out there that was approaching these courses?
I think it was fairly late in the trip. More maybe when I was in Texas.
How did you hear about it?
Um,
Did someone just tell you? I mean, I guess.
Honestly, I can't even remember. Might have been just Greg calling me himself, but I'm not sure. I can't remember that. But
Well,
I did.
how
It
would
was
Greg have
it was
heard about it?
probably at least a month or two before we met up, but it was still like more than halfway into my trip. I think
Well,
probably.
how would he have heard? Were you posting online? I mean,
My
back
dad
then.
had a website, um, Disc Golfers R Us, that nobody remembers now. It's kind of like a social media site for disc golfers back
And
then.
he posted your progress.
I had like a blog post and
Oh, were you posting, blogging these events?
yeah, like the rounds and stuff.
Did you write? Is that still up somewhere?
It's probably actually long gone now. He didn't renew the domain. I don't think we saved it. It can't be
Archive.org.
found.
Archive.org. It may actually exist in a data bank somewhere. So somehow you and Greg, by the way, is 1987 world champion, very dear friend of mine from way back. One of the best players, certainly of the 80s, and he was a stand-up comedian, and he would travel around the country in his little white. Apologies if I get it wrong. I think it was a Volkswagen Rabbit because it got like 50 miles to the gallon. I've ridden in that car. I remember my knees were like this, up in my chin. But Greg was a stand-up comedian, and he was in many ways the first person to tour. Uh,
Yeah, basically.
Basically, yeah. I when I make the list of the first touring pros, because he had an alternate source of income on the road, and he wasn't just disc golfing. When I make the list, that's why. But he was touring in the '80s, playing disc golf tournaments to make money, and then stand up comedy, and of course he was playing courses. He also wrote an article for the magazine. Do you remember this? Front nine, back nine.
Yeah, I had those.
Okay, so you were familiar with Greg.
I'd actually seen him play at some of the Worlds before I met him then, but I
Okay.
hadn't actually formally met him then.
So front nine, back nine is where he would travel around the country and he would write about some of the best courses, the front nine, and the worst courses, back nine, if I recall. So you were familiar.
Yeah, and I played plenty of the back nine courses. There wasn't a lot to choose
Wait a
from
second.
back
Oh my
then.
God, how this is such a brain fart. Some of the worst courses you played, worst
I
courses
didn't
or worst experiences.
get to like cherry pick basically because I wanted to play courses and see what everything was, and also there wasn't really like reviews in those books either. You have no idea what the course conditions were like.
No
There
UDisc
was
map
no
to
there
tell
was
you
no
the.
UDisc and disc golf course review update whether it's too muddy or the course has been mowed recently. There was nothing like that. So sometimes courses would be like non-existent. There'd be smashed baskets from trees falling down, and one course in like I want to say somewhere on the East Coast maybe was so overgrown that I wasn't sure it was a thing until I found some of the baskets, and then I could barely walk the whole thing. And I had to just like tomahawk roller down through the thick crap
You
to
still
finish the
played the
course.
course.
I still played it, but it was like not a thing. No one had been there in like 5 years, and it was still there. And I just like played it anyways. You couldn't even find like an animal path. There was no one had been there in years. It was
Yeah, and some of the courses didn't even have tee pads, right?
many courses didn't have tee pads.
And so no tee pads and no UDisc to tell you how to play, unless you were a local with someone showing you the course.
I mean,
Even some of the more well
definitely
played
played some
courses,
of
you
them
wouldn't
wrong.
know.
So, the most confusing course of all time, and I'm sure the locals know this. I hope I can get the name. It was in Washington, maybe. Um, Not SeaTac, but near there. There was a course. Do you know of the one? I think it had like 42 or like 56 baskets and like more tee pads than that with like 9 different rainbow coated layouts and
Stilicum?
Steelicombe, yes. Fort Steelicombe.
Right.
You just show up there 15 years ago by yourself with no idea what's going on, and you just have to make up your own course. Like,
You know why?
there's nothing.
You know
It's the
why?
most
It's yeah.
confusing layout I've seen in my entire life out of over 1,000
So
courses.
I don't think it is anymore. I think they've
It's
nailed
a
it. I
nightmare.
think they've nailed it down. But you know what that? Do you know what the big, giant building was surrounded by the barbed wire next to the course?
Was it probably military or
No, it was a
something?
state mental institution.
Ah, oh.
And
It was
and
designed by someone that escaped.
yes, yeah. I believe, and I hope I'm not confusing this. Forgive me,
Don't get me wrong, some of
Washington.
the holes were nice when you figured
No,
them
it's a
out.
great
I would love to
course.
go back there and play.
No, no,
But you could not find your way around. It was
that
just a
is.
complete spaghetti mess.
Oh no, it is absolutely one of the best
It's
courses out
probably
there.
a good course.
It's
Yeah.
a great course.
I want to go play it again. But
Yeah, so they must have just reeled it in. This must have been early.
there were
early
like
days.
colored tape around the basket with like rainbows and like tee pads that went in 3 different directions that were like 30 feet wide with like 3 different tee signs, and you're supposed to just and like 4 baskets in this direction with all different grass mowing towards them, and you're just supposed to figure out where to go next. And like, I can't do this.
Speaking of Washington, the coolest course, top 5 coolest courses in the world in my list. Did you play Lake Stevens
No, I don't think so. No,
with the weird baskets?
doesn't sound. No.
The baskets that don't exist anywhere in the world except the Lake
I'm
Stevens
talking about
disc
the
golf
the
course.
white egg-shaped ones.
Yes.
Maybe I did. Was it like heavily wooded,
Yes.
but not like thick rough, but like thick tree trunks with like
Yes.
pine needle forest base
Yep.
and egg-shaped baskets that have like different directions you can putt at them?
Yes.
Yes, I did.
Did you like
I
it?
think so. That was the one. I like the experience of it, and I would love to see a funny course like that with the baskets like that again someday, just because I think it makes it interesting.
Yes.
It's almost like if you land on a certain quadrant of the basket, you almost can't make a putt. It's like
No,
you're
it's not.
punished for
It's not
not.
like that. It is
Yeah,
that.
you're like, oh, I landed on this side of the basket. I'm 10 feet away. I'm gonna have to lay it up over the other side of the basket because I can't make it from that side.
Yeah. So picture a giant tub, and you could look up Lake Stevens disc golf.
That probably was it. Then,
Yeah. But there's like a round PVC thing over the top of the basket.
Yeah.
Sometimes down one side, and a chain net either hanging in the middle, on one corner, and on a different corner.
Every hole would be like different.
And every single hole is different. And so many people hate the baskets. And they hate the
Understandably.
Well, no, it's not understandably.
from
They're out
the
of their
general
minds.
perspective.
Because here's why. Because they throw a shot and they're like, I'm 12 feet away and I don't have a putt. And they feel like I got
Well, then they should
screwed
have put
over.
it 12 feet away on the other side of the basket.
Thank you.
You gotta think about it. You know?
Yes, because you actually have to consider that. This is what I love.
I like that aspect
You
of
think
it, but
about
if you
it.
don't even know the hole or where the basket's
Oh no.
facing,
If you're not a
God.
local, no. If you play that course blind, you lose. Period. End of discussion. Every local in town beats you because they know what side of the basket you must land on. But even putting, you have to decide if I go for this on the right side of the basket,
And
I'll have a
it's
harder
right.
comeback
I
putt.
can't make a comeback.
But a left I can, so I should put an Anheuser putt instead of a Heiser putt on a wide open putt.
Literally.
Like, I love the fact that you have to think about those things, and I can't for the life of me not understand why everyone doesn't love it. I love you, Lake Stevens. That is still one of my
And I
favorites.
think it was without those baskets, even like most people would still like the course. I
No,
think
it's a
pretty
great
good
course.
too.
It's a great course on its own, but
Yeah.
it's a great course like many other great courses.
Yeah.
We're not talking about it 2,000 miles away, 5 years since the last time I played it, if it had regular baskets.
No, it was good in and of itself.
Yes. So, the Lake Stevens. Did you play Aspen Mountain? On top of Aspen.
I don't know.
Gondola up to 12,000 feet, and
Not gondola up and then down, so probably not. There was a few ski resort courses. I know one of them was maybe Eureka or something like that. Golden, Colorado, maybe.
Yeah.
Had one too on a ski hill. I remember there was like still snow in the shadows in like second week of June. I was like, wow.
No, I mean there's snow year round
Yeah.
up at elevation,
You can't
especially.
turn anything over either.
Well, if it's north facing too, like if it's north facing, it gets less sun. North face, and then get a crevice. It's ice year
There was
round.
one hole there that was, I want to say it might have only been 95 feet long, but it might have been like 150 or something. And it was so steep uphill that you could barely reach it almost. And then if you missed and hit a tree like I did, it would roll down behind the tee pad.
Did you play? Speaking of that, did you play Dave McCormick's Ozarks Mountain Course?
I don't think so. No.
Oh, on the private land.
No.
3 of the coolest courses. Dave McCormick's
Definitely not, no.
Dave McCormick's a fantastic course designer. and he built 3 private courses on this land. And when I went to a tournament there, 100% of the players had dried blood on their arms or legs because of the thorns. You could tell how well someone played by how much or how little blood they had on them.
It reminds me of another course that I think he designed and built, but it wasn't that one because it was a public park and it might have only been 18 or 36 holes. But it had those new at the time Gateway Titan baskets where
Yeah.
they had like the heavy metal like hockey puck thing that was like holding down the chains.
Right?
I think they were green baskets. I can't remember where this was. It might have been Missouri. And it was a pretty interesting long course with like a lot of steep ravines and thick rough, and
Oh,
any
yeah.
bad shot and you were shredded to pieces.
Well,
on
yeah,
the
yeah.
fairway.
Well, this course down at the Ozarks, it was a private course. No one ever played it except for at tournaments, or if they were traveling the world playing every course. But it reminded me of that because he had one hole that was so steep up a hill that he had a rope with knots in it, and you had to pull yourself up the hill to get to the.
Speaking of, you haven't been there yet. Maybe you have time to play. Hopefully, I built a course nearby a little over a year ago, and some locals recently installed 3 ropes like that. Thankfully, because it helps. This course is a little park, and it's like almost like a tiny little gravel pit. Talking 15-foot hills, but they're so steep and like in the woods that it's actually kind of dangerous to go down them when it's wet,
Yeah.
and getting back up is kind of hard. And there was nowhere else to put the hole, so I tried to design it so the baskets aren't right at the edges to reduce erosion. But bad shots land down those hills. You got to go down there and throw back up. And they've added some ropes, and you got to actually like use the ropes to get up the hills. And it's only about 40 minutes from here.
So I got some trivia for you, and I may get this wrong, but I believe I know the answer to this. Do you know the first drop zone in disc golf?
I have no idea.
You ever heard this before?
No.
I believe it's the course on top of Aspen Mountain, because there were places where if you go off the edge, well, there's some places where you try to get to your disc, death is possible. But you could go so far down the hill, and this is what happened to Big Daddy Griffin at the tournament, mid-90s. He took, I believe, it's in my book, Scott Stokely Growing Up Disc Golf. He took, I believe, 6 full power shots to get back up the hill from where his disc landed at the bottom.
Oh yeah.
And we sat there, I wasn't in his group, but they sat there and groups were playing through, waiting for him to like 25 minutes or something to play the hole. Anyways, the next year they had a drop zone. I think it was the first one.
At some point, either that or like a lost disc declared rule or something, because you can't just have someone climbing down the whole mountain and getting back up.
No, that's what they said. The other places, they're like, people will die on this hill. So you're approaching 1,000 courses.
Yeah.
And Greg contacts you.
Yeah.
And Greg was also approaching 1,000 courses, and this is a massive milestone in the sport.
At some point before this, I think I had maybe heard that he was trying to go back out and beat me to 1,000 because he didn't want to not be the first. I can't remember. And then he contacted me to say that he couldn't, basically get there. I think he was either injured or his car was down or something, and he asked if we wanted to just do it together, and I was like, of course I do. Are you kidding me? It's Gregg Hosfeld.
Wait, you didn't think I'm gonna ground you into dust and I'm gonna take this
I was
accomplishment?
very much interested in doing it right
No,
away.
I know that. I know you would never do that. But honestly, it kind of would have been funny if you had.
I don't think I could have done that to him, knowing who he is.
No. I mean, I love Greg. Everyone loves Greg. So he contacted you. So and
I was already heading in his direction too.
okay. So
it was
you
perfect.
So you thought you
Perfect
could just.
timing.
Now, how many courses was he shy of 1,000 when he heard from you? I'll ask him the same question.
I'm not sure how much he was short when he started going back out to get to 1,000. Maybe 100 or less than that. But he was not far. He was closer than me when the time came. I got to play for another month or more, maybe, I think, before meeting up for him. So
And you
he could have beat me.
So he also could have beat you if he'd wanted to.
Yeah, I didn't want him to push himself or anything though.
He wanted to just collaborate.
Yeah.
And so you agreed that you were going to meet. Do you remember the date?
It was probably about this time of year, I think, or maybe a little bit later
How
in
could
November.
you not? This is way more
date?
important than your wedding anniversary or the birth of your 2 children.
I mean,
come on.
It is. My wife's probably watching this right now, but yeah,
Getting Flea.
I don't remember the date. Might have been November 3rd, or it could have been a little bit later in November.
And where did you meet?
At the International Disc Golf Center, which I hear is having trouble right now with the trees.
It is. The Pine Beetles
Very,
taking
very
out
sad.
Double
Wow.
Lord Jackson.
I got to play it before it was completed and before the tee pads were in on some of the holes.
And So how interesting is that? Well, now wait a second. You went up to Augusta. Gregg's not in Augusta. He's in the Jacksonville area. Was that right?
Yeah.
So he drove all the way to Augusta just to meet you to play.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's cool. So he actually also.
And I was already like in the south, heading through the southern coastal states towards Florida and around at that time. So it was like already part of my itinerary. That was perfect.
And so that's the first time you'd seen him play, but that's the first time you had
Up close
actually.
and personal, met him. I had actually, of course, just like you, I'd seen him play at other worlds before, and watched his like funny clinic of like how to throw crazy shots and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
he's so good, isn't he?
Yeah.
He was one of the best finesse players of all time. He also, I would put Gregg on a list of the among the most underrated players of all time. I mean, he's Hall of Famer. I mean,
Didn't win the world,
he's a
so.
world champion, but he. I don't think anybody is picking him to win the world. There are people that aren't flashy. They just don't make mistakes. They don't miss easy putts, and they wind up like it's like the tortoise and the hare, right? Like they don't make the big spectacular shots, but at the end of the round,
They know what they're
you're
doing.
like, damn, that guy beat me. Like I felt like I threw better shots than him, but he didn't make the mistakes. So those players fall under the radar. Would you say?
Yeah.
Gregg's one of those players. He would play mistake-free golf and real smart golf too. He knew his game. So you played the 1,000th course, and
Yeah.
was it at all emotional? Like, was it all or like
It was fun.
it was fun?
Yeah, it was about the same weather as right now. It was 40 something, maybe a little chilly and windy.
No tears.
No,
See,
it
I'm
was
such
fun.
a baby. I cry over stuff like this. I would probably be all bawling. Oh, we
A few
did
other
it.
people there, get to meet some other crazy characters like Stan McDaniel.
Stan was out there.
Yeah,
Did he come out for that?
yeah, I think so. And we played with him. He came along with it.
Wow, boy, the way talking about people whose games are similar to Gregg's.
And good course designers. I forgot to mention like Charlotte's Web and Renaissance Gold as
Oh
top 10
yeah.
favorite courses of all time as well.
By the way, for anybody,
By
so
far.
yeah, if you're interested in a course designer, for someone that's played more than 1,000 courses, Ben here in Michigan is fantastic. If you're down in Florida or the Southeast, I mean, technically you could be anywhere. Gregg Hosfeld, fantastic course designer.
Turkey Lake Park.
Yeah, he's made some of the highest rated, I think most of the top rated courses in Florida. I
I
believe
played Turkey
he
Lake
designed.
with him. One of the ones he designed there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good course.
Yeah.
Yeah. He knows his stuff. So you've now played 1,000 courses at this point. Were you still just as excited for course number 1,001, or did a little bit of
Actually,
shine
pretty
come off?
much, yeah. Well, part of it was I had to wait about 3 or 5 days maybe for him to get there, and I couldn't go anywhere and play any new courses while waiting. So, of course, I was ready to go play some more courses.
Ready to
right
play.
away. I didn't wait much
Were
longer.
you tempted though?
It was tempting, but I can't. So
Were
I
you
couldn't.
tempted to play?
I was there for like 3 days, and I don't think I even walked the course because I didn't want to see it first. So I didn't. The two other courses I already got to play. I made them like I think they probably were 998 and 999, and I had to wait to play the final one.
Okay. Did even any part of you consider playing W.R. Jackson the morning you were supposed to meet him right before he got there?
Not really.
See, you're such a better person than me. I'm
like
not saying I would have done it,
Gregg
but I would
Hosfeld,
have.
world champion.
I'm not saying I would have done that, but I would have thought about it the whole time. How funny that would be to be like, oh man, I hate to break it to you, but I couldn't wait.
No.
All right, yeah, like I said, you're a better person than me. So you played 1,000 courses. Where are you at now? How many courses?
I'm actually only at about 1,150.
And have most of those just been the courses that open up in the area?
I've only actually added 100 courses since 2008. So, haven't had a chance to travel much.
So
Open up the business, got married, had a kid, have another kid any day now, literally. So,
yeah. Like actually, the phone could ring. Like
any minute now, or on Black Friday, as it's supposed to be scheduled to right now, which is going to be problematic. So,
on Black Friday.
yes, we are now scheduled to have our next kid on Black Friday. So, please keep an eye on our website, and we really appreciate your online sales during that time.
Yes, yeah. No,
They might be closed in store.
I can't stress.
Speaking
this.
of, if that's
Wait,
my
oh my
wife-
God! If that's her,
Oh no, it is her.
it is her.
1 second.
Oh my God, you're live.
Hello.
Oh my God, this is not staged. I'm listening. Wait, hold on. I know this sounds like downtime, but I want to hear if this is actually happening.
I told her it's not that at all.
Oh, it's not
But it
that.
is her.
You know what?
Any call could be, though.
By the way,
it's very close. Any day now.
you do realize, had that been her saying it's now,
We would've had to name her
zero
Scott, you
people.
said,
No,
right?
you said you have to name her Scott Tina, but not a single person would have believed that it actually was not staged.
Yeah, but
Nobody believed it.
she's supposed to be due any moment, so.
Okay. All right. So, look, Ben, I love you. I love your family. I know they're all going to watch this. That you guys mean the world to me. Like so many people that have been there in my life. The throw shop in Ypsilanti at Lakeshore Disc Golf Course, Ypsilanti, Michigan. Throwshop.us is the website. If you want discs online, you know, like
Can I
again.
throw in something we do special that most people don't do?
Oh, we don't have time for that. We got to go.
Oh.
Thanks, everyone. No, sorry. Go ahead.
We actually take the time to basically give a general description of like the dome profile of the disc and the softness, which is not as commonly, not uniform as the dome, but I'll like rate them as I stack them and weigh them and put them in the system. So you're buying a starter story online from us, you can know whether it's like a board flat one or it's got an average shape or it's domey. And if you've been playing a while, you know how much of a difference that means. So it's nice.
No, it is nice. And again, I don't misunderstand. I am not knocking the big guys. I'm not knocking the manufacturers. I'm not knocking the big stores by any stretch. I'm just saying, all things being equal, when you can get with the local stores that have boots on the ground and are promoting and growing the sport, you are supporting making the thing better that you like in a way that's different than when you promote the big guys. So I'm a big fan of yours. I'm a big fan of supporting the local pro shops myself. So
Thanks.
thank you, man. Thank you. It means the world to me. All right, everyone. Look for the interview. I'll be interviewing Gregg Hosfeld as well.
Okay.
By the way, that same part of my mind thinks it would be hilarious if he was like, all he had is bad things to say about you. After everything you said that was nice.
I wanted to see if he was like, oh, I tried really hard to beat him, but I couldn't.
Yeah, no, I want to get a good story
Well,
because
I don't
Gregg,
know.
Gregg, I'm going to plug the next video. Gregg was out there. Gregg was out there in the 80s when it's like, it was, even we talk about how hard it was for you in 2006. When Gregg was doing it in the 80s, it was like exponentially harder to get out there. And he might go to a state where there's like 4 courses in the state and not one of them is within 3 hours. And he was hitting them and reviewing them. So
Yeah.
I'm glad that I think it was a super classy move for you to not just kind of scoop him on that and let him get that accomplishment, because he did put the work in for a decade and a half before, or 2 decades
I was honored
before.
to be able to do it with him. It was really cool.
No, for sure. So, all right, thanks everyone, and go to my website scottstokely.net and sign up for my stuff.
Oh, can I mention that
That's all for
you
me.
should definitely learn from this guy, because he did say that he didn't teach as well as he used to, but I learned to throw far from his instructional VHS tape, which for you kids is the thing you put in a VCR and it plays on the TV screen,
Yes.
and the little booklet of stuff. And I went out and practiced, and I gained about 100 feet in one day and actually learned to throw far instantly after learning from Scott Stokely over 20 years ago.
Well, thank you very much. And I'm going to correct you on that, because what you said was I don't teach as well as I used to.
I meant, yes,
I know.
the other way around.
The other way around.
he was saying that his teaching back then isn't as good as his teaching now,
It
and
wasn't.
I wish I had learned from him now back then. But I learned from him back then anyways, and I gained 100 feet in one day of practice. So
Perfect. Well, then online, you can type online disc golf guys. All right, but I want this to be about you, because I have to plug me, because I got to keep the lights on. But man, thanks, man. I cannot stress it enough. You guys are the best. Thank you.
thanks.